If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key, and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW, let us surprise you.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in a few minutes by one of our good buddies, Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. We're going to be chatting with him about what we all saw in the first two games of the World Series, with there being a splitter-rooney there, some of the ways that he's going to be looking to bet the rest of the series, along with Game 3 of the World Series. We're going to get his thoughts as to whether or not the Blue Jays have a chance of being able to hang in this series after they were able to take Game 1, and so much more in the final segment. We've seen a little bit of movement in terms of the numbers from when I did my initial Game 3 handicap on Sunday, and we're going to go back through it, give you guys picks and analysis for Game 3 of the World Series as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever. With EdgeBoost, 100% of gambling transactions do get approved. And when you go to edgeboost.bet, make sure you put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's chat it up with our good friend Rob, who I know that he is so hard at work taking a look at this great game of baseball, and he, much like myself, is going to be pivoting right from baseball into college basketball. He's also doing some nice work on the football front as well. You've been hearing him all season long on this podcast. He always delivers the goods. You're able to follow Rob on Twitter/X at RobDFB. Also does some nice work at Underdog Fantasy as well. And Rob, it is always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Greg. And obviously, we're already 2 games into this World Series, and I think of a lot of things that we could have predicted have already come to fruition. One, the Dodgers offense is going to be kind of putting up the 3 or 4 runs almost inherently every single time out. And I think because of that, the awesome one dimension of the Blue Jays offense is going to have to be what rules the day if they're going to have a chance. And we've already kind of seen 2 games now where that's been the case and that hasn't been the case. And that just might be the tenor of the entire series.
Absolutely, and I was talking about this prior to the series, and it feels like you're very much in lockstep with me. If you like unders, you're liking the Dodgers for this series, and if you like overs, you like the Toronto Blue Jays. If you disagree with me, you just let me know, but that's how it feels like it's really going right now.
Yeah, and I do think this could be a really good over series as well, just in general, because the Blue Jays offense, I think, will actually do damage. It's just a matter of can they mitigate what the pitching for the Blue Jays side of things are allowing per game. Because, again, I think the second that they walk in on the mound, whether it's Scherzer, whether it's Savage, or whoever it may be for the Blue Jays and then out of the bullpen, I think inherently every single game, the Dodgers are going to be putting up that 3 or 4 runs. And when that is the case, your offense can kind of rise to the occasion, or it can just flatline. And I do think against some of these bigger names like a Glasnow, heck, even a Yamamoto who was dealing the other night, I think those are going to be, possible under spots. But I think the tenor is still going to be that the Blue Jays are scoring 4 or 5 runs. They're just losing by margins of 7 and 8 on the other side.
Yep, it's a really interesting series to look at, to say the least. And it's very fascinating what we're going to be getting in game number 3 as well, because I just don't trust in Max Scherzer, because this is going to be his second start in over 30 days, and he's going up against a guy in Tyler Glasnow that last time we saw him out there, he was rocking and rolling against Brewers. Then again, every single one of the Dodger starters was rocking and rolling against the Brewers, and right now we've got a Mondo line in this one. The LA Dodgers are right around about minus 195, minus $2 favorites. What do you make out of this game? Because I do think that for the LA Dodgers, they do deserve to be big giant favorites going against a guy in Scherzer. He has done it before in the postseason, but man, he looks a little bit washed right now.
Yeah, I think if you're going into this game trusting that Max Scherzer is going to pull something vintage out of himself from where he currently sits, I think you're a little bit crazy or delusional from that side of things. I do think what's not delusional is thinking that the Blue Jays can get after Tyler Glasnow, because Glasnow is one of those prototypical, gunslinger-esque type pitchers where he is going to challenge you in the zone. It is going to be power, stuff, whether it's, a power breaking pitch or his power fastball that he leans on. And the Blue Jays offense is good enough from 1 through 9 to really hit off of any pitcher if they are getting hittable pitches. And so you just got to have to wonder, hey, is there a way that they can string together, a couple hits in an inning and then get that big fly out of, say, a Vladdy or an Addison Barger or one of these guys that has a lot of power in the Blue Jays lineup? Because if that is the case, again, I think this is a really good over game, because inherently I think the Dodgers are going to have 4 runs here. And if the Blue Jays can just muster up anything offensively, we're suddenly taking advantage of what's a really good name in Glasnow on the bump by getting a little bit of value on the over.
Yep, and I do think that that's such a great point that you make, as Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, he's joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, and backtracking a little bit on this one. Obviously, the 9-run 6th inning was a little bit of a surprise in game number 1. I don't think that anyone saw that coming, but other than there being 9 runs in an inning, has there been anything surprising about this series for you thus far? Because going into this series, I did think that there was going to be some sort of split. I personally thought going in that it was going to be the Kevin Gausman game that they would win, but I also thought that Kevin Gausman was going to be pitching in game number 1 rather than game number 2 against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. But I want to get your thoughts here as to if there has been anything that has just really been standing out to you in terms of something that has been a little bit surprising.
Well, I will give credit to the Blue Jays. I've been talking down on their pitching this entire episode, but in spots when they've actually been in high leverage positions with their bullpen usage, and heck, even kind of in the front end with Kevin Gausman, it was actually very respectable. And I think it has to kind of stay within that tier if they are going to have any sort of chance, because I think when you're looking at the Dodgers lineup, how stacked it is, how well everybody is playing right now, the Blue Jays are in the hole 3 or 4 runs at the start of every single game. It's just a matter of how do we not give up that 6 or 7 or that 8 spot, because then we're asking a whole lot out of a Blue Jays lineup that it's a one-trick pony, and it's a very good one trick, but maybe not consistent enough to kind of get it done if they're digging themselves those early graves.
Yep, I do think that that is such a great point that you make, and that is something that does need to be noted both in this game number 3 and moving forward. And I do think that with the Toronto Blue Jays, it's just very interesting to see the way that 1 through 9 is hitting, because everyone knows about Vlad Guerrero Jr. and how rock solid he's been, but Addison Barger comes up with that nice grand slam. I know he's not hitting for a lot of power, but Ernie Clement has really been a nice find here in the postseason as well, and it really just stands out to me how much depth the Blue Jays lineup has.
Yeah, and I think even on the bottom half of this lineup, if you're looking at like the player props market, look at a guy like Addison Barger, who was roping baseballs the previous 2 series, but not really getting rewarded for it. And so you have a guy who's kind of in that 6th, 7th, or 8th spot on any given night, and all of a sudden, those hard hits that were being line drive outs to second base or line drive hits being out to right field are suddenly finding grass, or kind of like his pinch hit at bat in game 1, it's a grand slam. And I do think that if you want to have a little bit of like a nice little stake in terms of like the World Series MVP market, by not picking one of the big names of Vladdy, George Springer, Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, this would take a Blue Jays outright winner of the World Series, but I think a guy like an Ernly Clement or an Addison Barger at World Series MVP odds would be nice, really good stabs, I think, at the bottom end of that lineup.
Yep, and I do think that it's going to be so fascinating to see what we get moving forward from the rest of this series. And Rob, in terms of just the overall series, is there any features that you are going to be looking to play, or is this going to be a little bit more game-to-game / situational? Because obviously we know that we're getting Scherzer against Glass now in game number 3. Game 4 is going to be Shohei Ohtani going up against Shane Bieber, and then you'd have to think that it's going to be Savage going up against Blake Snell again when we get to game 5, but I do think that it's a very fascinating series, and one that coming in I thought was probably going to go 5 games, mainly because I did think that Kevin Gausman was going to go in game 1 rather than game 2, but I could very much see this going 6 games now.
I'm right there with you, where this does kind of feel like a 6-game series. I would obviously, lean towards thinking that the Dodgers are going to wrap this thing up. They're just the most complete team in baseball, and although they went through their hard stretches during the season, they have really found it, obviously, as of late. Everybody's clicking in that lineup. The pitching has been fantastic, both in the bullpen and in the starting rotation. And so it's just a matter of, okay, can this awesome one-trick pony Blue Jays team with a really great offense get to that 6-run mark in a game, that 7-run mark in a game, that 8-run mark in a game to sort of mitigate what the damage is being done on the other side with their pitching? And I don't think that style is going to play a favor long-term in a series like this. And so I do think this is a game-by-game betting series, especially with the Dodgers being such overwhelming favorites. But I think in those individual spots, you can take some shots on the Blue Jays. But mostly, I think game-by-game, the over is actually where I kind of align myself right now.
Yep, and I do think that it's going to be really interesting to look on that front end. I talked about this a little bit earlier on in the week, and I want to get your thoughts here, just in terms of World Series MVP, because Shohei Ohtani, obviously the very, very short shot with regards to that market, but Yoshinobu Yamamoto throws a complete game in game number 2. He's most likely going to get another shot to be able to win a game as well. Any sort of value perhaps on him to be able to win World Series MVP, especially with just a sentiment of him throwing back-to-back complete games going back to the previous series, just because we just don't see that in this day and age of baseball, and I think that might resonate a lot with voters.
100%, and I think when you're talking about the World Series MVP futures market, it's one of those where it doesn't matter what your stat line is, right? There's no definitive barometer on, hey, this is how you win the award. It's almost like a popularity contest. And so picking against a guy like a Shohei Ohtani, who's the obvious one, I think is a dangerous proposition, because if he does anything halfway well enough to get that award, I think they're just going to give it to him. But if Yoshinobu Yamamoto can go out there for another game and perform the way that he's been performing, especially if it's a close out the series type of winner, heck yeah, I think Yoshi could actually have this in the bag potentially. And so, yeah, I think if you are taking some longer stabs and you're looking at the Dodgers side, Yoshi's a great one. I also think maybe even taking a shot on a guy like a Max Muncy, for example, is halfway decent, because as we know, liftoff could very well be happening 2 times per game from here on out with Max. And that's just kind of how it goes, is you want that high upside, flashy type of successful player, not the contact driven hitter. And so, yeah, Max, Yoshi, those would be my 2 long shot stabs on the Dodgers side.
I absolutely love it, and we've had ourselves a fun World Series thus far. We know that we're getting at least 3 more games, and Rob, I know you're doing a great job taking a look at this tremendous World Series, but additionally, you, much like myself, getting set because college basketball is back in a week. We are both very, very excited for that, and I'm always excited to have you aboard. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, very exciting sports time where we have a crossover between NFL, college football, the World Series, and college basketball starting to get back in our lives as well. And for those who want to follow my bets on a night-by-night basis, you can do so on Twitter/X at RobDFB, and also my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Rob Donaldson. But as always, Greg, I appreciate having me on, man.
It is always great to have Rob aboard. Every single time he joins me, he lends such incredible insights, and he did so once again today. So, big thanks to Rob for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis for Game 3 of the World Series as we touch them all.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always great to be joined by Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to Rob for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on Game 3 of the World Series as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. It's very easy to go in Las Vegas rotation order when there's only one game on the Las Vegas rotation. So this is 9:25, 9:26. The Blue Jays are on the road against the LA Dodgers. Max Scherzer goes for the Blue Jays, and Tyler Glasnow is on the bump for the Dodgers. Dodgers are anywhere between -195 to -205 favorites. When I was recording this yesterday, it was more like a -185 to a -190, so this has ticked up there. Between +167 to +175 is that number on the Blue Jays, and total on this game, it is 8 with the over at a -120, and the under is even. And personally, I was able to give more like a +108 to a +110 on the Dodgers on the run line, mostly seeing +105 as of right now. But MGM actually has a +115 out there. I don't know if that's just an outdated number or what, but all the better. I was willing to take a +105 or better. I was thinking more like a +110 overnight yesterday, but just in thinking about the way that the Dodgers bullpen did not have to utilize anyone whatsoever in that game number 2, and the way that I think that the Dodgers are going to be able to go out there and dominate. They have been one of the most dominant teams in terms of being able to win by multiple runs in all of baseball over the last few seasons. I do think that they go out there, get the job done, and win this game by multiple runs. For Tyler Glasnow, he has really been able to get it going all season long, and he comes in his best form. Now, he has been giving up about 4.4 to 4.5 walks per 9 innings throughout the entirety of the season. That said, for Tyler Glasnow, he has been able to do a nice job with a 2.83 ERA between the regular season and the postseason, 10.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and 0 or 1 run allowed in 5 out of his last 6 starts. And for Max Scherzer, this is just his second start since September 24th. So over the last 32 days, he has gone out there and he has pitched once. He did go 5 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs in that American League Championship Series against the Seattle Mariners. So that wasn't a bad start if you look at the runs allowed, but he did give up 4 walks in that start. And if you look at the regular season, a 5.19 ERA for Max Scherzer, giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. That is a big giant scare for you. And for Max Scherzer, I mean, obviously he's pitched in some of the biggest games ever. We all recall what he was able to do for the Washington Nationals and the way that he was able to help uplift them to be able to win that World Series. And I know that he was dealing with back spasms when it came to that World Series, but on the road this season, a 5.91 ERA, and when he has been on the road, he's been giving up right around about 2 home runs per 9 innings, 7 home runs in 35 innings, so the math is pretty much equal there. And I do think that for the Toronto Blue Jays, they're just going to need to try to flat out slug their way to victory, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to do this against Tyler Glasnow, even with Vlad Guerrero Jr. Give you 6 home runs here in the postseason. We have seen a lot of guys be consistent, just find a way to be able to move the line, get on base. Ernie Clement has been hitting well above a 400 here in the postseason. Dalton Varsho, if you did it back to the regular season, between the regular season and the postseason, he's been getting a home run every about 11.5 or so at bats. He's been hitting better with regards to his average here in the postseason, but he's been a little bit inconsistent with that regard as well. And then you've been been able to get some really good production out of Bo Bichette ever since he's come off the injured list. And for the Blue Jays, they can throw out their lineup where pretty much 8 out of their 9 guys here in the postseason only, are hitting at 245 or greater. But I do think that Glasnow is going to be able to go out there, give you that good start. And for the Dodgers, even though the bullpen ERA is north of a 4.5 here in the playoffs, you now have Roki Sasaki, who's been able to be very rock solid. Jack Dreher and Anthony Banda, under the radar, have been solid in this bullpen as well. They've now gone away from those guys that were untrustworthy during the regular season, like a Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, the guys that just flat out were not getting the job done. And for the Blue Jays here in the postseason, their bullpen ERA is well above a 5. You've had Braden Fisher be relatively solid for the team overall between the regular season and the postseason, and Seranthony Dominguez, you just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him. It's a big roll of the dice. And Brandon Little, he has been coming up little here in the playoffs. Tommy Nance was really good during the regular season. He's faded away. I would not be surprised if you see perhaps a little bit more Eric Lauer. I don't understand why he's not in the rotation for the team right now. Chris Bassett could have you hook, line, and sinker as well, so you could have a few starters coming out for the Blue Jays to be able to hold down the 4 for a bullpen that, well, just really has not really been that great. And for the LA Dodgers, we all know the firepower that this team has when Shohei Ohtani has it rocking and rolling. Last time Shohei Ohtani was hitting at home, he had 3 home runs in that closeout game against the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't think he's going to be able to do that. And for Shohei Ohtani, it's actually been a little bit of a struggle in terms of moving the line and getting on base here in the postseason. He's only been hitting about a 224, but after a slow start, he's really been able to get it going over the last few games. Teoscar Hernandez has 4 home runs here in the playoffs. A little bit of an all-or-nothing guy. Even during the regular season, had a sub-300 on base, but Max Muncy, he's been able to give you a 386 on base. He's already got a home run here in the World Series, so you've got a lot of guys that it just feel like are hitting Mach Turbo. A lot of guys that are finding it. Will Smith was dealing with injury towards back half of the season. He's hitting above a 300 here in the playoffs, and Andy Paz has hit just a 0.93 with a 133 on base. I do think that is going to be going northward as well. I do think that in the end, you get a great start out of Tyler Glasnow, and the Dodgers do find a way to get the job done, and it's something that I've been talking about on this podcast the last few days. If you like unders, you'll probably like the LA Dodgers. If you like overs, you probably like the Blue Jays. I said my total is 7.6, so I do like an under here, and I do like the run line of the LA Dodgers, and that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I am indeed with you guys every single day throughout the regular season into the postseason, because we have to try to get you guys as many winners as humanly possible to wrap up this season. And then once the season wraps up, unlike my college basketball podcast, I will not be doing this podcast every single day during the off season, mainly because with college basketball, with 365 Division I teams, it's much easier to be able to keep that rocking and rolling rather than with baseball where you've only got 30 teams during the off season. But that said, until then, we've got you guys covered there, and then we make the transition on over to college basketball, so we've got a lot going on here, and I always do appreciate you guys sitting in, and I will be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Did you know your credit card points and miles can lose value to inflation? Credit card companies often reduce the redemption value of your points and miles. Now, imagine a credit card with rewards that can grow in value. With the Gemini credit card, you can earn Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos instantly with no annual fee. Every swipe at the store or gas pump earns you instant rewards deposited straight to your account. Plus, sign up now for a $200 Bitcoin bonus to kickstart your rewards. Visit Gemini.com/card today. Check out the link in the description for more information on rates and fees. Again, if you're looking to invest in Bitcoin but don't know where to start, the Gemini credit card makes it easy.